Understanding Postmodern Fascism, a brief history of the woke ideology. One does not establish a dictatorship in order to safeguard a revolution, one makes the revolution in order to establish the dictatorship. George Orwell, 1984. Gramsci. Antonio Gramsci, an Italian Marxist philosopher, concluded that the failure of an international communist revolution was intrinsically inherent to the nature of Western culture. Gramsci advocated for communists to take control of the cultural foundation of Western societies by means of a long march through institutions. In other words, the appropriation of the culture, education, and mass media was necessary to teach the Marxist doctrine to the masses, instigating a massive propaganda enterprise. The Frankfurt School. The Frankfurt School thinkers recognized that the shortcomings of the orthodox Marxism doctrine lay in the success of capitalism. They adopted Gramsci's rhetoric, created an intellectual weapon, the critical theory. The incessant critique of Western civilization and culture through the media of the social sciences and the humanities. They launched an intellectual assault against the pillars of Western civilization: family, Christianity, nations. From the social to the societal. The struggle for political and economic power between the bourgeois oppressors and the proletariat oppressed was translated from social terms to societal terms into the warfare between genders, races, sexual preferences. The social critique was abandoned in favor of the societal. Sexual revolution. The ideological pill, swallowed without reluctance by post-war youth, was coated with the delicious prospect of a hedonistic utopia. The promise of free love, the sexual revolution, served as a Trojan horse for the ideologues supporting critical theory. This new culture, falsely subversive, blithely mocked the traditional family model for being the source of indoctrination, repression, violence, and abuse. Left libertarianism. The hippie ideology mutated into a political current, left libertarianism, or the hippie ideal remodeled into progressive morals and values. The left libertarians have regurgitated the rhetoric speculating that, in Western societies, minorities are oppressed by a group of privileged individuals, heterosexuals, cisgender, white, Christian men. The Occidental civilization needed to be dismantled and replaced by the universal community. Nationalism would disappear to make way for a cosmopolitan world. Demonization of the white proletariat. The progressive bourgeoisie shamelessly demonize and offer to vindicate the proletarian unjustifiably accused of being oppressors. The indigenous working class found themselves victims of both the economic inequalities and the thirst of revenge from minority communities who swallowed this rhetoric. The defense of minorities was coupled with ethnomasochism, an ideology of shame and self-hatred, the guilt of white men, judged oppressors by essence of their skin color. Submission to neoliberal capitalism. The promotion of deviant lifestyles and the ideals born from the sexual revolution served the interests of the market. The neoliberal capitalism system regurgitated the sexual emancipation promised, marketing frivolity and the transgressive consumption of libidinous goods. Ironically, the act of purchasing those goods was understood as a revolutionary deed. For the individuals subject to their instinctive lustful impulses, the concept of freedom translated as the submission to their desires fulfilled by the act of buying. Therefore, the supposed hedonistic liberation from the sexual revolution was nothing more than subjection to the neoliberal capitalist system. Worse, it opened the door for the commodification of the body, i.e. Western bourgeois using surrogate mothers from third world countries. Libertarian liberalism. Left libertarianism, social, and right-wing liberalism, economy, have been revealed to be two sides of the same coin. They are a duplicate ideology, libertarian liberalism. As an illustration, the freedom of movement advocated by the former as a right of individuals to roam the earth without constraint is a benediction for multinationals that benefit from mass immigration of a flexible and docile workforce unaware of the extent of their rights. Abandonment of the traditional culture. Under the guise of equality and the democratization of culture, the instruction of the legitimate culture perceived as imperialist and racist has gradually been abandoned. However, far from benefiting the working classes, the abandonment of the legitimate culture offered a monopoly to the elites on the cultural capital, thus facilitating social reproduction and deepening the inequalities in principle between bourgeoisie and proletariat. The lower classes had only mass culture, a culture of uniformed and standardized products formatted by private companies as a substitute for the legitimate culture. Social media. The explosion of social media triggered a new crisis of authority. The influencers preached the gospel to their millions of followers. Popularity legitimized authority. With social media, everything is pathos, The consecration of the dictatorship of emotion that has annihilated the use of reason and facts in political and social debates in which the appearance of virtue prevails over a true rational analysis. Understanding Postmodern Fascism, a brief history of the woke ideology, available on Amazon. Link in the description.